Today's case is the story of a wife and mother who seemingly had it all: a good job, a home, a loving husband, and 3 beautiful children. But when she received devastating news that threatened to tear her family apart, she took to TikTok to vent. From there, in a series of raw, emotional videos, we get clues as to what she was going through. But behind the screen, something much darker was lurking. Not only was Emily dealing with tragedy, but she was hiding a disturbing secret. This is a case of a tangled web of love for one's family, desperation, and a horrific act that left the community reeling. But before we get into the details of this case, I want to say a huge thank you to Golden Nugget Casino for partnering with me on today's video. The Golden Nugget Casino app has all of your casino favorites right on your phone. With thousands of real money games, including slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer, you can get the Vegas casino experience right from the comfort of your own home. They have all of your favorite games, including the most popular slots and exclusive slots, so you can find your favorite. They've also added Huff and even more Puff. Everyone's favorite game is now available at Golden Nugget Casino. Spin after spin, the fun just keeps going. It's an action-packed game that keeps you coming back for more. But beyond everyone's favorite games, Golden Nugget Casino has even more game features. With bonus spin features, you can boost your winning potential with hard hat symbols that level up your prize farms for even greater rewards. With the wheel feature, you can crank up the suspense with a prize wheel that dishes out jackpots, bonuses, or instant wins. Golden Nugget Casino is a fun, engaging way to win and play. It's also safe, secure, and reliable, so you know that you can trust where you're putting your money. Golden Nugget Casino is offering viewers of my channel a special offer. New customers who download the app today using my code Shannon and play just $5 will get 500 slot spins instantly on Huff and even more Puff. Thank you again to Golden Nugget Casino for partnering with me on today's video. Ryan Long grew up in Manchester, New Hampshire. Ryan was described by those who loved him as outgoing, driven, and motivated. He was known for his love of music. He taught himself how to play the guitar in high school and even started a band. They would go around and play their music at local bars and restaurants in Manchester. Then, when he was 25, he decided to teach himself how to play the piano. All throughout his life, Ryan was known to be the life of the party. He would break out his guitar and either come up with witty songs on the spot or play familiar songs that everyone could sing along to. Not only was he talented musically, but he was athletic. He grew up playing hockey, then was an avid golfer as an adult. After graduating from high school, Ryan went to California, where he spent 4 years working in marketing. But Ryan knew that this wasn't his forever job. He wanted to help people. So by 2004, he returned to New Hampshire, where he spent the following 10 years working on a degree in psychology. From there, he became a school counselor and a certified behavioral analyst. For the following 9 years, he worked as a psychologist at the Oyster River Cooperative School District. Then, by 2022, he picked up a part-time position as an adjunct professor for the Plymouth State University graduate program. After finishing his degree, Ryan ended up meeting Emily Hobson. It was said that the two had mutual friends and would often end up hanging out in the same social circles. Emily was also from New Hampshire. She went to college at the University of New Hampshire, where she studied hospitality management. After graduating, she bounced around between different restaurants in Nantucket, Massachusetts, before heading back to New Hampshire. While in Nantucket, Emily found herself pregnant with a baby boy she named Parker. We don't know a lot about the situation with the father, but it looks like he was not involved in Parker's life, pretty much at all. Either way, by the time she returned to New Hampshire, that is when she met Ryan. Emily was described as being bubbly, outgoing, and fun to be around. After spending some time hanging out together in their mutual friend groups, Emily and Ryan grew an attraction to one another, which eventually blossomed into a relationship. Before long, Emily moved in with Ryan into his home in Dover, New Hampshire. The two then got married and had a daughter together who they named Ryan and called Rai Rai. Ryan also ended up adopting Parker, changing his last name to Long. Eventually, the couple moved away from their home in Dover and purchased a new home in Madbury, a tiny New Hampshire town with a population of just under 2,000 people. It's the kind of place where children run around or ride their bikes outside without supervision. Everyone knows everyone, creating a strong community bond. The town is so small that there's not even a single stoplight. It's easy for someone to miss the town altogether, and that's actually exactly how the residents liked it. After moving there, Emily and Ryan made it their own. Ryan continued working as a school psychologist and was known for connecting with students of all ages. Meanwhile, Emily worked her way up to the role of operations director at a local restaurant. By 2022, the couple went on to have their third child, a son named James. Alongside their 3 children, they had 2 dogs, Cooper and Pasta. Those who knew Ryan said that he was just such a passionate person, putting his all into everything he had. He was amazing at his job. He was a loving and supportive husband, and he gave his all to his children. He absolutely loved his life and his family. It was said that Ryan, aka Rai Rai, loved to dance and sing. She was always the center of attention. Meanwhile, Parker was known as excelling in athletics, especially lacrosse and hockey. Ryan had actually taught Parker how to skate and coached his hockey team, so that was something the two could bond over. Overall, the Longs were seen as this close-knit, beautiful family unit. They were so happy together and were looking forward to everything their future had in store for them. But before Emily and Ryan got the chance to grow old together, watch their children grow up together as they planned, everything came crashing down. By mid-April of 2025, 48-year-old Ryan Long received devastating news. He had a glioblastoma, which is a highly aggressive cancerous tumor that affects the brain or spine. Its survival rate is extremely low. Most people have a survival rate of about 10 to 13 months after diagnosis, with only around 5% of people surviving 5 or more years. It is a devastating disease with no known cure, and it appears that treatments don't help much either. Immediately after receiving the diagnosis, Ryan got surgery, and from there, he and his family had a very difficult road ahead of them. Not only was the cancer going to get worse, but so were his symptoms. So his family were just going to have to watch him decline as he was just holding on to life as long as he could. Ryan's focus was on spending as much time with his children as he possibly could. He wanted to hold on for at least a year. He wanted to see his kids go through a year of school and wanted to make sure that his youngest son, James, would remember him. He wanted to make an impact on his youngest in the very short amount of time he had left with him. Of course, the diagnosis put a lot of strain on Emily as well. She now had to take care of her 3 very young children, all while helping her husband through his disease, knowing that he was going to get worse and she was going to be losing him soon. Emily started to fall into a depression, and with each passing day, she felt increasingly lonely. So she did as so many others her age do. She started posting videos to TikTok, talking about what she was going through, using it as an outlet to just vent and get it all out there. It started out with her posting a few videos to get things off her chest, until she eventually started posting every day, if not multiple times a day, and she eventually started to grow a following. In those videos, she talked all about the medical appointments and treatments Ryan was going through. She gave frequent updates about how he was doing. She also discussed the stress and grief her and her family were facing since the diagnosis, along with her fears for the future. She talked about how overwhelmed she was dealing with all of it, seeing her husband's symptoms getting worse, seeing her children struggle with the weight of it all. In one of her videos, she stated, "It's just been a really hard last 2 weeks for everyone in so many different ways, and it's hard because I'm trying to keep everyone together and I'm barely holding it together myself. I just want to erupt and run away. Everyone's struggling for different reasons." In these videos, she often looks exhausted, her voice strained, with her hair tied back and dark circles under her eyes. She is clearly struggling to deal with the reality she's living with, as anyone would. It's not easy watching someone you love suffer from a terminal disease, having to completely replan your entire life, facing the devastating reality that she's going to be a single mother to her 3 grieving children, all while dealing with the heartbreaking loss herself.
Our finding from the MRI is that the swelling is so severe that they couldn't decipher tumor from swelling with confidence, and that is really important to note. So she said, "I can't tell if the tumors are larger, I can't tell if they've halted growth, I can't tell anything because the swelling is so severe." And she showed it to us, and it crossed midline. It was the entire side of his left brain, and it was overwhelming. So I'm not surprised that he's having seizures, that he's exhausted, that he's experiencing all of these symptoms, because she said the swelling was so bad. It was very alarming to see the swelling and to see how it's affected him so greatly. But I also wanted to shout out my parents, who stepped into this role of secondary caregiver and secondary parents without even questioning it, and they do everything I could ever ask them for and more. They love my kids more than anything. My kids feel no missteps if we're not there. My parents are very comforting to them. I want to shout out my friends and my family. I posted a video earlier about how everyone in my community showed up. Our neighbors, my friends from California. We are so fucking lucky to have every single one of you guys, and this community. I just am so thankful. I feel no shortage of love and support, and I know that random people on here, if I messaged any single one of you and said I need someone to talk to, I know that you guys would be there for me. So I just wanted to say thank you. And while this whole thing sucks, it has been so heartwarming to see how loved we are, and there's like nothing that can replace that. So we're on to the future, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to have a plan that's going to be even better in a month.
But by August 7th, 2025, Emily posted another video to her TikTok account talking about how she wanted to make a change. She said that for the past few months, she's just been reclusive, depressed, and overwhelmed. She has completely isolated herself and her children. All she wanted to do was curl up and spend time with her family, but she said she knows she can't do that. She needs to get herself out of her depression. She needs to put on clothes, get herself together. She needs to get her kids out of the house to see their friends, and she needs to accept social invitations. She needs to bring back some sort of normalcy back into her life. So she's determined to make a change and get her family on a better path.
I know that I've said this before, but our kids are definitely struggling. And now I'm starting to notice some changes in our 3-year-old, which is tough because he's too young for therapy. I know that people are going to say play therapy. We've done that before, and I just don't really see the benefit in it. And he's too young for talk therapy, obviously. But like, for example, last night he just couldn't sleep. He was up all night long. He was crying. He's never like that. And I've been starting to notice him stirring more at night and just have a harder time. And it's just devastating. But I am determined to create normalcy. We're going to go down the street to our neighbors who are our close friends with a bunch of our other friends. I don't think that my husband will come. Maybe he will, because it's right down the street. It's just a couple houses down. But it's important for my kids to be with their friends. And I have been struggling so much and really depressed and just have really become reclusive and just wanted to be with my kids and my husband. And while that might feel good for me, I don't think that that's good for me. So, that being said, I am making a change. It is starting today. I am going to start getting dressed. I am going to probably not put makeup on because I don't really wear makeup very often unless I'm going somewhere, but I need to become more social again. I used to be like the most social human on this planet, and the past month I have basically declined 98% of all offers, and my kids need to be with their friends. So, hold me to it. Today, I am adjusting my perspective, and I'm making a point to get out of my depression and do this for my family. So, that being said, happy Saturday. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I'm going to have a fantastic day.
But this already heartbreaking story doesn't end with the tragic death of her husband. The story has a much more devastating, horrifying end. By 8:21 p.m. on the evening of August 18, 2025, 911 received a call from a friend of the Longs requesting a welfare check on the family. First responders arrived to the home shortly after, making their way inside to investigate. But once they did, they were met with a horrifying scene. They found the bodies of 34-year-old Emily, 48-year-old Ryan, 6-year-old Rai, and 8-year-old Parker. Alongside the bodies was then 3-year-old James, who was alive and unharmed physically, but was obviously in a state of shock. Each of the victims was examined and were all pronounced dead at the scene. Each of them had been shot to death. From there, an investigation into what happened in that home began. With that, their bodies were all sent to the medical examiner for autopsies, which were actually completed very quickly. The reports were released just 2 days later, and they made the following findings. Ryan Long was shot 2 times, while Parker and little Ryan were each shot once in the head with a pistol. Their causes of death were determined to be homicide. Emily was also found with a single gunshot wound to her head, but her cause of death was determined to be suicide. Based on that, and given the estimated time of death at the time their bodies were discovered, officers believe that in the early morning hours of Monday, August 18th, Emily took a handgun from the home and shot her husband and 2 of her children before immediately taking her own life. And for whatever reason, a reason we probably will never know, she spared her 3-year-old. Now, something that I haven't really seen anyone else talk about with this case is the fact that, again, she killed them in the morning on August 18th. They weren't found until over 12 hours later. 12 hours that 3-year-old James sat with the bodies of his dead family members. 12 hours that he had to look in the faces of his mom, dad, brother, and sister, all who were covered in blood. 12 hours of being terrified, confused, devastated, and hopeless, not to mention probably starving and dehydrated. I can't even fathom what that child went through in those long, horrifying hours. So based on what we've heard up to this point, it seemed that maybe Emily just couldn't handle things any longer. She didn't want to see her husband suffer. She didn't want her kids to watch their father die, so she killed them and then herself to prevent that from happening. In a very, very sick mind, maybe that is how she justified what she did. But after further investigation into Emily's life, more disturbing information came out that may speak to a secondary motive. Let's rewind back in time to 2016, when 24-year-old Emily Long, formerly Emily Hobson, was living in Nantucket. At that time, she and her boyfriend were working at a local brew pub restaurant called Nick's. By December of that year, Emily's manager realized that some of their alcohol was going missing and over $11,000 had been drained from the restaurant's bank account. And the owner of that restaurant strongly suspected that Emily and possibly her boyfriend were responsible. So the two were fired, and a report with local authorities was made alleging that Emily had been stealing money and alcohol from the bar. But just a few weeks after she was fired, Emily started posting all sorts of photos to her Facebook account showing off her luxury vacation in Thailand. She and her boyfriend were halfway across the world living a life of luxury in Bangkok. By the time they returned to the U.S. in June of that year, Emily was charged with multiple counts of check forgery. But just weeks later, the case was ultimately closed because the restaurant shut down. It's almost like losing $11,000 was a devastating blow to a small business. So she didn't end up having to face accountability for what she did. And as if that wasn't bad enough, just wait, because it gets so much worse from there. Like I mentioned earlier, Emily had been working as an office manager at a restaurant called Wing It's before she was promoted to operations manager. The owner of Wing It's, Derek Fisher, said that Emily had worked for him for many years. He never knew about her past accusations. She had actually become his number 2 at the restaurant, and he trusted her wholeheartedly. But then in June of 2025, Derek started to notice that money was going missing. Starting in January of 2023 up until June of 2025, there was over $660,000 that went unaccounted for. Derek then saw that there were a lot of handwritten checks in Emily's name that were being deposited into her bank account. So, on June 18th, Derek confronted Emily about this. He asked her where the missing money was, and she didn't really have an answer for him. Derek knew that Emily had been embezzling that money by that point, but instead of going straight to authorities, he wanted to work with her. Again, they had worked together for years, and he trusted her, so he wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. By August 11th, he set up a time to meet up with her at a bank to go over the financial statements, but she didn't show. It was then when Derek filed a police report. But after that, he never saw or heard from Emily again. The next time he heard her name was in the news when she was found dead alongside her husband and 2 of her children. When investigating Emily's involvement in this $660,000 embezzlement scheme, investigators were left a bit confused because on paper, it didn't seem like Emily or her family were struggling financially. They weren't in bankruptcy. They didn't seem to be spending beyond their means. I mean, Ryan's medical treatments were getting expensive to the point that they had to sell Ryan's truck, and that was a devastating blow for the family. But the embezzlement began years before that, so the cancer can't really be blamed. Those who knew Emily, however, did say that she had a shopping problem. It seemed like she was always ordering things off of Amazon, getting them delivered to the restaurant, and she even mentioned herself that she was a shopping addict. So maybe she was stealing so that she could spend as much as she wanted without dipping into her own or her husband's income. It later came out that Emily had her own bank account and her own retirement account, so Ryan was likely unaware of the embezzlement and of her spending habits. As I stated, when she ordered a lot of Amazon packages, they were going to her work, so she was probably hiding that side of her from her husband. But at this point, it seems like there's a lot at play here. We can't deny the stress that Ryan's cancer caused the family. I can't imagine how I'd feel if I were in her shoes. But to add to that, she was also being called out for her theft, and $660,000 is no small amount. That is a ton of money to be stealing from your place of work, and she likely was fully aware of that. She knew that she was about to be caught and would be stuck paying restitution and maybe even spending some time in jail. With the walls closing in on her and the disease taking its toll on her family, we can speculate that she felt that it was all too much to handle. So she took the lives of her husband, 2 of her children, and then herself. Of course, none of this can be confirmed. Emily is not here to speak on any of this herself, but it does give us a good look into what was going on, and we can use that to imagine how it could have impacted her. No one could have predicted that she would do this, but it does explain what happened in hindsight. Of course, this whole case has left their families devastated. Many of Ryan's friends have said that they've sort of come to terms with Ryan's death. He had a terminal cancer and was living numbered days. But the children, that is unexcusable and absolutely sickening. There was absolutely no reason to take the lives of her children, even if Emily knew that they were going to have to live with the loss of their father. Then, on top of that, to leave just one of the children alive, I cannot make sense of that. Maybe she felt that he was young enough that he wouldn't remember any of it, so she spared him. Maybe this all happened so fast that she didn't realize that she left James alive. We don't have those answers, and we likely will never know. But what we do know is that he is left with so much more trauma than if he was just allowed to live his life and live with his father for the months that he had left. But at this point, that is all of the information we have on this tragic case. As I've been saying throughout the video, I understand why Emily was feeling depressed and hopeless. But obviously, this was not the answer. Her children deserved to live long, full lives. Yes, they would have experienced unspeakable trauma from losing their father, but no one gets through life without struggle. They could have worked together to get through it. They could have held on to all of those special memories with their father as they grew older and lived knowing that they were so very loved until his last breath. But now, 2 of those children have no chance at life, and the youngest has to live the rest of his life without his mother, father, or 2 older siblings. I cannot fathom how Emily could ever think that was a better alternative. All I know is that James is now living with his grandparents who will love and cherish him. He's being supported by aunts, uncles, and friends. I am confident that the people in his life will surround him with love and care throughout his life. I just hope that he can make it through this unspeakable tragedy and come out the other end okay. I do want to mention that a GoFundMe has been created to help support the little boy. The money will go towards his education, mental health, and anything else he needs as he grows up. They have almost reached their goal, so that will be linked down below if you have anything to spare to help out a grieving boy who lost everything. Now that you've all heard my thoughts on this case, though, I want to hear from you all. Why do you think this happened? Why do you think their youngest was spared? And what do you think of Emily's embezzlement schemes? Let's discuss this and any other thoughts you have in the comments below. If you liked this video, please make sure to go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I put out new true crime and mystery videos every single week. Don't forget to turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Spotify. All will be linked down below. And if you have any case suggestions, please make sure to fill out the Google form, which is also listed down below. With that, hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.